certainly sounds like it's a very kind of attractive idea.
Thank you.
Kind of fun idea. So how long have you been doing it?
It started about 2 years ago. But I was in part-time during I had an office job and I was doing it in my holidays. And then from Christmas last year, it's been right. Okay, I take a break from work, travel. Let's meet these people. Let's do this thing.
Sure. So how do you find the people? Like, how do you? Hang on, we're going to talk about this all in a sec. There's so many questions I want to ask. G'day, good to be back with you this morning. Very shortly, the latest from Jeff Robinson. We'll be speaking with him about the latest in politics. But right now, when were you born? So with me now is a very interesting fellow, Richard Avis. He's in Horsham today, and he's travelling the world with a very interesting project. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning.
So, what is it that you're doing?
I'm travelling the world, meeting people, trying to find and meet people born on exactly the same day as myself, the 1st December 1974.
Okay, so at the moment you're travelling in Australia doing this, but where did this all begin?
So this began a couple of years ago. I was in my mid-30s, and like a lot of people at certain points in their life, they were wondering, where was my life going? Was I successful? Was I not? Was I young or middle-aged or even old at 36? And rather than getting a bit depressed about it, I thought, well, maybe the best way of going about it would be try and find other people born on exactly the same day, see how their life is. What's success if you were born in Australia or if you're born in Africa? And how does that compare? And then again, where in your life are you in different countries?
How many people have you met just so far?
So we've met 20 people now in 13 countries, predominantly in Europe to start with, one person in North America, and now 7 in Australia.
How do you find the people though?
So originally we were just finding people online. So some people might have a Wikipedia page and their date of birth might be on that, or they might have done something and been picked up by local newspapers. The newspapers love putting people's date of birth and age in there, so there's a lot of that online. In Australia, the media has been fantastic. ABC has supported pretty much everywhere we've been. We've been on TV as well and had articles in the paper, and in response to that, I'm getting emails from people in Australia from all across the country, which is wonderful.
Right, so that's actually happened a lot. You've been in the media and people have got in contact with you.
Absolutely.
And said, I've got that date. Okay, right. So, and have you ever thought about, I guess they can't give you the information, but have you thought about walking to births, deaths and marriages and saying, give me the data?
Somebody in Sydney did that, and they found out how many people were in New South Wales. There's 188 people born in New South Wales on that day.
Okay.
They can't give you the data as to who was born because of confidentiality. So if you were tracing your family history, you could go and ask the deaths and marriages people about people who are 60, 100 years ago, but not currently. But interestingly, in Norway and Sweden, where we've been, all of that data is all public domain, so you can go on the internet and you can find the date of birth, the name, address, and even the salary of every person in the country, including the Prime Minister.
You can find the salary of every person
absolutely.
in the country?
It's amazing. These are these little interesting things we're finding from country to country, how countries are different, and society is different everywhere.
And so when you find these people, I suppose you mentioned that part of it is about seeing how different people live and things like that. Have you found similarities that are based on the fact that you share the same birth date?
There seems to be one very strange one we found, that it's maybe an epidemic across the world that we're not well aware of, but 4 of the 20 people at least we've met are scared of escalators. Which seems, this may not be a major news, but there's a little thing there. On a more serious note, I think it's very difficult to prove whether astrology is right or wrong with our little project. But there are similarities in some of the people we've met, probably more to do with the fact of who has been so far interested in taking part in the project. So people who are interested in the world around them, people who travel quite a lot. So we're trying to look at different mechanisms to attract people from different walks of life. The whole idea of the project is to meet people from the widest possible backgrounds, to really get an understanding of what's important to them, what's their life about, what are their stories. Everyone has a story.
I suppose there's a similarity as well in the sense that by definition, because you were born on the same day, you experienced world events at exactly the same age. So when the Berlin Wall came down,
Absolutely.
You were the same. So have you found that your experience of life is the same with these people?
That's really an interesting question, and one of the questions we tend to ask when we meet these people is what are the most significant news events in their life? Which events do they remember being there for? And there's obviously 9/11 is one that frequently comes up, but then up beyond that, it tends to be stories that are more local. But interesting in Australia, with Australia's links back to the UK, the death of Diana's one that comes up quite often with Australians. It would have the same with the Brits we've met, but not anyone in Europe and not anyone in North America. So this is quite interesting as well, how it shows really what stories the media have been interested in talking about. The one that you mentioned about the fall of the Berlin Wall is interesting to me, as I'm a historian, well, studied history at university, and very few people mention that, which I would have thought would be a more common response.
Yeah, because you would have been quite young and focused on the world around you.
Absolutely, yeah, you'd have thought that.
And so, when you mentioned that you came from London and that's where this started for you, and now you're in Australia, but so what are the places that you've been to along the way?
So, trying to remember in order, the first was in New York City, where we met a filmmaker over there, and that was quite interesting because we just didn't know, would anyone ever want to get an email out of the blue from some crazy guy in England, would you like to meet up, you're born on the same day? I think if I'd received that message, I might have thought it was a bit of a scam, but he completely accepted it, thought it was a great idea. So we met him, we've been to Norway and Sweden, we went to Holland to meet the reigning over 35s Dutch female bodybuilding champion. We went to Italy, where we met the mayor of a small town that had been hit by a huge earthquake, and he showed us around the sort of the devastated heart of the town, which was a fascinating and very moving thing to do. We've been to Latvia. We met a novelist in Ireland. We've been to Slovenia, to Austria, and now Australia. I've probably missed a couple, and apologies to anyone who I've missed out on that list, sorry.
And so you're in Horsham today.
Yep.
Can I take it that's because you've found someone?
Yeah, there is, absolutely. I'm meeting a local chap called Jock Baker later on today, which is very exciting. And it's great because Horsham may not feature particularly on the tourist map, but it's one that I wouldn't, if I was on holiday here, I wouldn't necessarily have come here, but it's fantastic, and it's again, the project can take me to places and I can get a sense of what it's like to be in this area, what it's like to live in this area. It's wonderful for me to be able to travel to places I wouldn't necessarily have been to.
But you mentioned that, I can't remember what the number you said was in New South Wales, the number of people.
Yeah.
So 188, I mean, Horsham's a big town, but it's not that big, so the chances are quite slim, aren't they?
I think the chances are slim. Is Horsham's population about 14,000, I think?
Roughly, yeah.
So it's unlikely I would meet someone here, because if you're walking down the street and you bump into someone, the chances that person was born on the same day as you is about 1 in 25,000. So yeah, Horsham can see itself as a lucky place.
And so what's next? Where are you going after Jock Baker?
So after here, we're travelling to Adelaide via Mildura and Broken Hill. In Adelaide, we're meeting a chap who's a drummer, and then from Adelaide we are heading to Tasmania, and then we've got people in Western Australia and up in Queensland to meet as well. Nobody in Northern Territory as yet, but hopefully we'll find somebody there.
And so right now there's also a camera on us. Who is this gentleman? What is this about?
This is Stuart. He's one of the people who set me the original challenge. The original challenge was to meet 40 people by the time I'm 40. But the feedback from Australia has been so good, and the Australians have got so involved in this, that I'm actually going to meet the target of 40 quite early. So my target is now to meet people from the broadest possible backgrounds and diversity of life in different countries. And we're shooting a little bit of a documentary at the moment as we go along, and we're writing a book about it, and yeah.
And post Australia, what's the next country? Have you got a sense of it?
It is one of 2 or 3. We've got invites to go to Indonesia, which will obviously give a very different sort of perspective. We've got invites to go to Vanuatu, which will be amazing. I need to look it up on a map, and to New Zealand as well. And we're looking to try and see if we can get some companies who might be interested in the project, and see if we can get a bit of corporate sponsorship to continue the project on beyond what we're doing at the moment.
Okay, great. Well, look, just tell us again, what's the date that we're after, and how do people get in contact with you?
So the date is the 1st of December 1974, and people can contact me at richard@timetwins.info, or they can find out a bit more on www.timetwins.info.
Look, Richard, it's a great idea. Hopefully you'll find some more people in the region, and good luck meeting Jock today.
Thank you very much.
Richard Avis, the Time Twins Project. He's meeting people around the country and around the world with the same birth date as him. If you know someone with that birthday, get in touch, let him know. You're listening to 594 ABC Western Victoria. Dan Glover with you.